Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to Can My Child Play Conversations. Can My Child Play basically spinned off from a book that I wrote from the Jordan McNair, the founder of the Jordan McNair Foundation and father of Jordan McNair. So the name of our book is Can My Child Play? The Questions That We Should Have Asked. And basically what we do is our book has kind of rolled over into a conversations of Can My Child Play? And basically here we talk about player safety. We tell various stories of people that may have been, whose lives may have been affected by a heat stroke or a heat-related injury or any type of student-athlete injury. And we talk to parents, we talk to student-athletes, and we talk to a variety of folks just trying to make an impact. I'm your host, Marty McNair. Today, my guests are Dr. Steven Horwitz, who's been on our show a few times already. And however, what we're doing today, we're doing a unique twist because we have his son Hayden on here. So, hey Hayden, how are you today?
Good. How about yourself?
Okay. What about you, Dr. Horwitz? How are you?
Doing good.
Good. So, Dr. Horwitz, let's jump right into it. So basically, from the very first time you and I ever spoke over the telephone, I remember it was a couple years ago, and we were in the process of, I believe we were in the process of donating cold water tubs, the pro sports programs across the nation. And we went literally from, we donated over 250 tubs, literally from Alaska to Florida. And it really dawned on me or surprised me that somebody in Alaska would even need a cold water tub, but I've been much more educated since then. And I remember one of the things that you said to me was, if somebody's not listening to you, there's something wrong with them, or not listening to that work and the efforts of the Jordan McNair Foundation. And Steven, you and I speak often enough. And one thing that's always consistent with us is player safety. So today, you know, we bring you on, we bring your son Hayden on, and basically we can kind of connect with a lot of younger student athletes because they can hear Hayden's version of what player safety looks like to a young person. And let's go from there. So Steve, I'll let you take it and introduce yourselves, and we can keep on rolling.
Well, I'll just introduce my son, Hayden. He's 13 and he's in middle school. And why don't you tell everybody what sports you play?
This is my first year of tackle football and my first year of basketball, wrestling, and I'm also thinking about doing track.
Great. Okay. So what, and I tell people all the time, Hayden, especially in my book, you know, Jordan was a all around athlete as well. And, you know, as a parent of a student athlete, a lifelong student athlete, we always want you to be the next great thing. And we want all our kids to be a superstar quarterback, a superstar running back, or a superstar basketball player at 8, 9, 10 years old. And one of the things that I've emphasized to a lot of people is that just let your kid keep playing, and guess what? They'll make a decision in what they're good at. So I applaud you for, hey, just being active and keeping all your options open. And guess what? Probably within the next 2 years, you'll know what you like the most. You know, by the time you're probably a junior in high school, I guarantee you will pick one or two things that you like and you see potential in. And I guarantee you. So look, long as you stay active, don't worry about picking anything right now. Just keep doing it all and keep your options open.
Yeah, I applaud Hayden because he never played football, so he did do a little bit of touch.
Yep.
For a couple of seasons before he played tackle, but he never so much as really dribbled the basketball, and now he's out on the court playing basketball. Yep. Never wrestled other than beating up Dad, because you can see Dad has already got the short end of the stick.
Sure.
And he's doing wrestling, and he's going to do track this spring, which will also be new. So I really applaud Hayden for going out and making it happen. You know, he's there. He's wanting to put it on the line and learn and have fun. And that's what I emphasize. Now's the time to just learn and have fun.
Exactly.
So see what floats your boat.
Right. I agree. And Steven, now the interesting thing about all of those sports, that you said. And you and I, our conversation, like I said earlier, is always consistent. And we came up with a phrase yesterday. And what exactly was the phrase that we came up with yesterday? What's going to happen today?
When you say what's going to happen
today, when we were talking about sports injuries, with all those sports you just named, we came up with a catchphrase, and I didn't write it down, but it was something along the lines: what can happen today, or what's going to happen today?
What's going to, and that's really the question, right? Something's going to happen today, but we don't know what it is.
Right.
You know, we don't know if it's going to be a heat injury. We don't know if it's going to be a sudden cardiac arrest. We don't know if it's going to be some type of brain trauma. We don't know if the child has an allergy. So we don't know if we need an EpiPen. We don't know if we need that asthma inhaler, and the list goes on and on and on. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to youth sports, and unfortunately, when we get below the high school age, so again, Hayden 13, middle school, the lack of preparedness is frankly very scary. And that's in the school system. And then when we get outside the school system, where most of youth sports is played, right? So from age 5, 6, 7 up through middle school, you have middle school sports. You know, we're here in Texas, so sports are really big. In other states, it might not nearly be as much participation at the middle school level. So where do the kids play sports when they're 5 through 13, 14? They play in the leagues. And that's a total goose egg. So we have to look at preparedness, and like we were talking about. So now we're in basketball. So what does Steve Dad do? You know, the first thing I do is I'm looking for the defibrillator. Where is that? Outside the basketball court. And interestingly enough, at Hayden School, it's right outside. At the school we were at this past Thursday, which for the purpose of this recording was 2 nights ago, they did have an AD, same way, right outside the gymnasium. And they even had a box with EpiPens in it, which was really phenomenal. But 3 weeks ago, there was no AED that I could find.
Steve, let me ask you a question. So you're a doctor, and you have TeamSafeSports, and you have a student athlete safety platform. You know to look for these things. But what about a parent that has no clue, and a parent that prior to Jordan's passing, like myself, just never even thought about what safety measures or what safety equipment should be in place? So what exactly is like, okay, you identify these things because you're trained to look for them, and there's a specific reason that you're looking for them in the event that something does happen. Is there any information amongst youth programs that states that this information or where the safety equipment is, where it's known to all parents, coaches, the opposing team, the visiting team, or anything like that? Now, are any of these things realistic? I mean, like, do we even have youth athletic programs? Because this is quick. Somebody will tell you, hey, where's the restroom at? Oh, the restroom's over here. But nobody's asking, well, where's the AED machine at? Where's the EpiPen? Where's the cold water tub at? So how can we get better, or how can youth sports organizations get better with that? Is it a 3-minute EAP, or I'm sorry, an emergency action plan meeting with the opposing team, with the parents, or whatever the case may be, all parties involved, to say, guess what? In the event of, this is where the safety equipment, or this is where the equipment that's needed to save a life is. What's your thoughts on that?
I think we need to break it down into 2 areas, school systems and non-school sports, because that's just the way the real world is broken up. Mm-hmm. So if we start with school system, I'm going to kind of go sport by sport. So football, interesting. Again, we're in Texas, so everything's bigger in Texas, right? You'd think the preparedness might be bigger. And in some ways, yes, in some ways, not so much. So for Hayden's 8th grade football, there is a certified athletic trainer. So ATC, certified. The AT is athletic trainer. C is certified. Please don't call them trainers, because that's a fitness trainer. There's certified athletic trainer or ATC. Those are skilled professionals, most with master's degrees, who are trained to run out on the field and deal with an injury. They are the first level of care. So first question that I would like parents to ask is, where's the athletic trainer in my school system? Mm-hmm. And so for 8th grade football, here, perfect example. The athletic trainer is present for all the games, but not for the practices. Yet we know from the data, from all the studies, as well as the information that I've put together over the last 5 years, that more than 50% of the issues, more like 60% plus, occur in practice. So there's no athletic trainer for practices. So now we have to say, okay, so number one, we need to advocate to the school system, why don't we have an athletic trainer at the practices? Since most of the injuries, and I'm talking about the morbid stuff, the deaths, have occurred at practices. So I'm looking at you parents, telling you that over the last 5 years of data, more than 60% of the deaths have occurred at practice. Yes, I'm being very strong on this. So where's that athletic trainer? And if that's the case, then let's move to the next level of how is the coach trained? What training does the coach have? In the school system, pretty much they're going to be mandated to at least have CPR and some basic first aid. But once again, how good is the CPR training if there's no AED? Mm-hmm. We know that CPR in and of itself is not all that effective. Even if you get to the victim immediately, at best you're looking at 30 to 50%. But if you get that AED on them really quick, then you have a 90% plus chance of survival. So we have to have coach training and we have to have the AED. And once again, please don't tell me it costs money, because for most schools, you're looking at about $1 a kid. And there are many organizations like yours who will donate AEDs. So there really is zero cost to an AED, and we can certainly provide that information to people where their school system can get an AED. So you can supply them. All they have to do is say, hello, Mr. McNair, can you supply an ice tub? And so
we'll do it, right.
We move cardiac to heat. So again, I told you I'm in Texas. At the beginning of the football season, I asked about an ice tub. So it's great to have the training. It's great to know that the standard of care is to put the athlete in an ice tub immediately. Put the athlete in an ice tub immediately. Before you even transport the athlete, put the athlete in the ice tub immediately. How many times do we need to say that, right? But the training does us no good if we don't have the ice tub. So I asked about an ice tub, and you were, through the Jordan McNair Foundation, generous, and you supplied the ice tub prior to the first practice of the season. Yes, parents out there, I am that parent. I am that parent. I am going to get in the face of the school administration, the coaches. I am that parent. I want my son to play. I'm not afraid about him playing. I want him to play hard and get as much enjoyment and learning experience and bonding as he can from that youth sports experience. But it can all be done safely.
Yep.
So that ice tub was there. And guess what? What else do I have to make sure? Well, do they have an ice machine where they can fill it up? Because an empty ice tub doesn't do us much good. Was there a water supply at the field? Well, most football fields are going to have a water supply. And we're fortunate enough to have a concession stand with an active working ice machine. So putting ice in the tub was not an issue, but you do have to ask all those questions.
Yep.
So that's just for football, right? So now let's move over into basketball.
Hey, Steven, can I interject real quick? Now, when you talk about ice being a major, right? If you don't have ice for an ice tub, what's the benefit to it? And one of the things that we noticed early on, Tanya and I, was that how a lot of parents, guess what? Especially at the AAU level, you can take a kid and you're stopping them on the way en route to practice to get a Gatorade or some water or whatever it is for hydration, and what we started doing was encouraging moms or parents in general, stop and bring a bag of ice. When you stop and get it, everybody bring an ice. And Steven, you made a very good point. We know to transport first, cool first, transport second, but it's kind of like the equivalent of, guess what? Everybody knows when you have a fire, what do? Stop, drop, and roll. And it's just kind of, you've heard it so many times repetitively to the point where it's just become second nature. So I think that clearly, once we can continue to educate and promote awareness and education and prevention around this, I think that the more and more people hear cool first, transport second, I think that they'll get it. But I'm sure we'll have to say it 1 million more times, or maybe 2 million more times, to people where they can really grasp it. Back to you, Steven.
Right, absolutely. So, we move on to basketball, and basketball doesn't get an athletic trainer in 8th grade. Doesn't get an athletic trainer in the games, doesn't get an athletic trainer for the practices.
Right.
And parents, you need to advocate. And guess what? Sudden cardiac arrest, what's the big sport for that? Basketball.
Sure.
Basketball.
Yep.
So where's the AED, folks? And then, we can just move on from sport to sport. But the reality is, the short story is, in high school sports, it's, if there is a trainer in your high school, football is going to get the trainer, the athletic trainer. In middle school, football may get an athletic trainer for games, and that's probably about it.
Yeah.
And here's the quick story, and it's a sad story. In the non-school sports, parents, it's 0. I can't emphasize this enough. It's a 0. There is no athletic trainer. There is no AED. There is no EpiPen. There is no ice tub. There is virtually no training. And please don't tell me that my coach took a concussion class online. We know the value of that is nice. It's certainly better than nothing, but the reality is it's so minimal, it's really nothing. And when we look at all the research papers, we find out that the coaches, basically nobody pays attention to the guidelines anyway.
Okay.
And it's in the literature. I am not making this up.
Sure.
That is in every single paper.
Now, let me jump in on that one. So we already know now, if we look at an AAU program that you say literally had 0 athletic trainers, 0 preventive equipment. And I look at Jordan, when Jordan came up, Jordan played AAU, and literally, I don't remember seeing any of these things there. Yeah, I just don't. However, one thing that I know, I remember Jordan's AAU coaches, every time they had a game, somehow they would wind up collecting money for a most important thing in the game that they think, a referee. So you'll hire a per diem referee, but in reality, a lot of people may not know that you can hire per diem athletic trainers as well.
Sure can.
And literally, and to me, as we had Jennifer Real, and she's a head DC athletic trainer for DC Public Schools. You remember that show. And Jennifer she made a comment where she was saying an athletic trainer is a certified athletic trainer is the equivalent of having an insurance policy on the field. And again, people, we'll as parents, we'll collect money for referees, an official to referee the games. However, the most important piece that we need there isn't there. But I just think that clearly somebody, we should have more parents like you that's in your face, more parents like me to kind of ask these questions. But again, they're just as vital, if even more important than the actual official of the game, because, your personal opinion, as a medical professional, we already know, and I want you to confirm this, from your expertise. We can't prevent a broken bone. We can't prevent a heart attack. We can't prevent all these different things that could go wrong. However, we can prevent a heat-related injury with the right equipment. You just said it. We can act fast with a sudden cardiac arrest with the right equipment. So a lot of things that, like, you can't put a price on prevention at all. And you and I, we've had that conversation on several different occasions. But Steve, I'll pass it back over to you.
I think, as we're maybe coming toward a close, some action points. So I have kept statistics since 2016. I've set up all of these alerts so I can discover, the unfortunate statistics of how many youth sports deaths have there been.
Yep.
And we've done a really good job of collecting these statistics. And I believe we probably have the best database, period, out of anybody.
I agree.
The short story is the big number one cause of death is the sudden cardiac arrest. So what do we learn from that? Well, really easy. We need that AED. You must have an AED. Not negotiable. It's not negotiable. And by the way, all these organizations can get it to you for free. And then we need the coaches to be trained on that.
I agree.
And he'll also probably be done also for free. Local fire departments. I come out and teach locally. All the papers that talk about how much money it costs. I'm going to call BS on that. The AED can be free, and the training can be free, or certainly close to free. And if the parents aren't willing to spend the money on getting their coaches trained, learn how to use an AED, stop buying the one nicer pair of socks and put the money into training the coaches.
I agree.
I had to say that because I see it all the time.
Steven, please let us know. Let's talk about statistics real quick, because I'm looking at our stats, and from 2016 to 2020, total deaths in the United States of student athletes totaled to 137 deaths. The top 5 states are Texas, Florida, Michigan, New York, and Ohio. The top ages of student athletes that have passed from a variety of student athlete injuries, fatalities. The age range, the top ages are age 16, we've had 30 deaths. Age 17, we had 24 deaths. Age 18, we had 17 deaths. Age 14, we had 14 deaths. And age 15, we've had 14 deaths. As you just said, the top causes of death, and we haven't determined every single one of them. However, but we've consistently tracked some numbers down. 66 of these 137 student athletes died from sudden cardiac arrest. And it could have been the different, many different abnormalities, Heat was 16, head trauma 11, asthma 5, and suicide, which you said we wouldn't go into that, was 5. We noticed that also we lost 52 kids in practice, and we lost 38 kids in games. And these are just injuries that may have happened in practice or at a game, and obviously they became fatal at that point. Steven, we lost 16 kids last summer. I know it, you sent us the numbers, or you kept us up to speed with the numbers. The big picture here is we have to advocate for legislation, because everything that you're saying, everything I'm saying, we're singing a duet. And the main thing is, guess what? We can sit here and we can talk and we can talk and we can talk and we can talk. However, what's going to mandate that somebody's really going to use the information that we just discussed? I know it's preventative. It can save a life. Our team knows that as well. But what do we do to ensure that, guess what? We told this person, or we shared this with this particular sports organization. Therefore, guess what? What's going to mandate that they use it? Because guess what? We can talk about it, but that don't mean they're going to use it. And all the information that you and I say, and we can educate. But the main thing I really think that the key here is really legislation and policy. And we have to establish laws and policies in place that will mandate that all of our student athletes at all levels of competition will be safe, or all student athletes at all levels of competition, all coaches at all levels of competition will be trained properly. And I think that's probably the best way that we can do it moving forward. Clearly, this isn't something that we can just kind of put a quick fix on and solve this challenge overnight. So clearly, we definitely have some work to do. Steven, in conclusion, tell us how we can get in touch with you. Tell us where we can get more information I know we have your link at our website, but could you please tell us everything else that we may need to know in regards to your contact information?
Thank you. We're TeamSafeSports.com on social media. Dr. Steve, DrSteve at TeamSafeSports. Would love to get the emails. You can certainly reach out on Twitter. Still fairly active on that. On Facebook as well. And what you're doing at Jordan McNair, maybe just everybody contact you, and you can certainly put them in touch with me.
Yep.
But the bottom line is, parents, please be involved in your child's sports so they can get the most enjoyment out of it. And again, I am not, of the faint of heart. I frankly, even as a healthcare professional, I can't stand mamby-pambies. I want people to get out there and train. I still compete in powerlifting hard. I train really hard, and nobody should have any fear of training really hard. But it's kind of like, as I've always said, I love the fast car, but I'm not going to drive one without brakes. So I just don't get it. Why are we not doing that? So, I hope people replay the statistics that you gave them and say, why don't we have a certified athletic trainer? Why don't we have an AED? Why don't we have an ice tub? Why don't we know how many kids need an EpiPen? Why don't we have a system where we can track this and actually figure it out? So when you go to the organization, you can say, wow, I have, 4 kids who've had prior concussions, and I've had, 5 kids who've had prior heat injuries, and I have 1 kid with sickle cell trait. So I really need to know about him with the heat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why? I just don't get it. Why don't we have this? It's so easy, so fast, and can cost literally nothing. And then the kids can play and rock and roll.
Right. As I always say, that you can't put a price on prevention. Hayden, we didn't forget about you. You look like you got the 13-year-old itch over there. Hey, look, we wanted to talk a little bit more to you. However, we'll definitely get you back on and, see how your experiences and how sports are coming along for you, and any ideas you want to share. This is a good time. You got a great dad over there. And let me tell you one thing, that the best advice or the best compliment somebody ever gave me regarding me with Jordan was, always listen to your father. He knows what he's talking about. I know it becomes redundant. And what I mean by redundant, it sounds like it's just an old record repeated over and over and over. Dad's never going to tell you anything wrong, and he's always going to tell you what's best for you. So everyone, thank you for joining us for Can My Child Play Conversations. This was a dynamic episode. Basically, if you want to get in touch with us, please follow us at the Jordan McNair Foundation on Facebook, the Jordan McNair Foundation on Instagram, the Jordan McNair Foundation on Twitter, and please visit the JordanMcNairFoundation.org, our website. And basically, you can pretty much see the link to Steve and Dr. Steve's website, Team Safe. He's one of our partners. His link is there. It's another video that I would show everyone. Everywhere I spoke at, I would at least show his 15-minute video on heat-related injuries. And basically, that will tell you everything from the signs, symptoms, acclimatization periods, and a variety of things from hydration to everything, all within 15 minutes. And I guarantee you, you can grab so much out of that video. So please visit us at all our sites, and thank you for joining us. And please leave a comment below. Please subscribe to the Jordan McNair Foundation YouTube channel. Please check this out on Jordan McNair TV on the Jordan McNair Foundation website. So thank you so much, and enjoy your day. And most importantly, stay safe. Thank you.